All right, so as we open up and start doing more things on the channel, I wanted to have a video kind of describing how you, well, detailing how you describe a hand. So, you know, it happens to me a lot. Like, I'll be out and, you know, my friends like, oh, you know, Blake has a poker school or Blake plays poker professionally, and, you know, I get someone like, oh, let me tell you about a hand. And it always starts off like, you know, I had ace king, I raised, he called, and then I went all in. Was that the right thing to do? And I'm just like, ugh. And part of me wants to like sit down and give a whole lesson, and part of me just wants to be like, listen, let me have my drink, and yeah, you're good, buddy, you know, good job. But this is what you do. You need to describe a hand. So how you describe a hand is pretty simple. First, you're starting off with the general environment. So, you know, where you were playing, what stakes you were playing, how long you were sitting there. Any details you want to tell me about the table, like it was a very aggressive table, or a very passive table, or, you know, X, Y, and Z. Then you're going to talk about the immediate details in the hand. So what was your position? What cards you had? All right. What was your general image at the table? And then kind of telling me about the people that were involved in the hand. So, you know, the player who called me was a really loose nut, and he was, you know, drinking and drunk, and I saw him, you know, play at least 50% of his hand, something like that. And then you're going to describe the hand as every single streak goes on, and, you know, how much of the percentage of the pot you bet, and so on and so forth. So let me give you an example. So a good example would be like, all right, I was playing 1-3 at Aria in Vegas. I sat down. I had just sat down. I knew nothing about my opponents. I was under the gun, and I was dealt, you know, ace king suited. I raised 5x. So 5 times the big blind, so you raised to raised to $15, and I got 5 callers. Okay, board came out 3-6 king, rainbow. I let out for 65% of the pot. Everybody folded except the person on the button who called. Turn came a 3 of diamonds. I let out for another 80% of the pot. Person on the button instant called. River came, 2 of diamonds. I let out for 50% of the pot. The guy on the button waited for like, you know, a couple minutes and jammed and went all in. All right, that's kind of like a very quick example of what I'm talking about. And that's like the quickest one. They get a lot more in depth if you know about the players. Oh, I was in a previous hand with this opponent, and in the previous hand the player showed a bluff, and blah, blah, blah. You know, just give me as much information as possible. If you can give as much information as possible, then you could decide whether or not that decision that you made was the most profitable decision over the long run. It's interesting because one of the other instructors here, my friend Brian, he'll send me a freaking, Brian has a ridiculous ability to recall hands. Like, he'll play the entire Borgata Open and like just knock off like 30 hands, not 30, like 10 or 15 hands that he played exactly how they happened. And, you know, there's an argument, like, you know, I tend to think he's a little bit too loose, or he'll think I'm too tight, and we'll go back and forth about what. And the fact of the matter is, that's how you get good at poker. Describing hands, discussing them over and over and over again. But the more information you have about a hand, the better you can describe it, the better you can come up with a kind of a situation. Not a situation, an explanation. Very, very important. That's why online it's so easy, because you have the hand histories. Live, it's a little bit difficult. So, you know, take out your iPhone, type it in up in notes in short notation, just so you could have the hand. And the better you get at recording hands, the better you'll get at recalling hands. And that's very, very important. You should be able to sit at a table and easily recall like the past 5 hands or the past 6 hands, like what happened. Because this is information. Poker's a game of information, and the more information you have, the better. So that's what you're going to want to be looking for, okay? And I will post a little description below of all the things you should answer about your hand. Just the more detailed, the more information, the better.